You're not anxious. You're not broken. You're not someone who needs to be fixed or rewired or told to calm down one more time. You're just someone whose brain never learned how to close a tab. And if you've ever lain awake at night wondering why your mind refuses to stop, this is going to feel like someone finally put words to something you've been carrying for a very long time. It's 2 a.m. The room is dark. Everyone else is asleep. The house is quiet in that particular way that makes everything feel louder inside your head. You're not scared. Nothing is wrong. There's no deadline tomorrow, no fight that needs resolving, no emergency waiting for you in the morning, and yet your brain is completely, relentlessly awake. You're replaying a conversation that ended hours ago. Maybe it was something small, a comment you made at lunch, a text you sent that got a shorter reply than you expected, a moment in a meeting where you spoke up and then immediately wondered if you should have stayed quiet, wondering if what you said came out wrong, wondering what they meant by that look, wondering if the silence afterward meant something, or if you're building an entire story out of nothing, again. There's no emergency, no crisis, just your mind doing what it always does, running, turning things over, examining them from every angle, looking for something it can't quite name. And the strangest part is you're exhausted, truly, deeply exhausted, not from doing too much, from thinking too much, from carrying the invisible weight of a brain that never fully clocks out. She's smart, thoughtful, the kind of person her friends call when they need someone who actually listens, not just hears, but listens. The kind of listening where you remember what someone said 3 weeks ago and ask about it, where you notice the shift in someone's energy before they've said a single word. She's the one who sends the message at the right moment, who shows up when it matters, who feels things deeply and quietly and almost always alone. She remembers the little things. She notices when someone's mood shifts. She feels the room before she even says a word. She reads the atmosphere of a gathering the way other people read a menu, effortlessly, instinctively, without even trying. But here is what no one sees. Behind all of that attentiveness, behind all of that warmth and presence, there is a person who is absolutely exhausted by their own mind. But at night, alone, she's completely trapped inside her own head. The same thoughts circling, the same what-ifs and what did that means and should I haves running on a loop she can't find the off switch for. And the cruelest part is that she knows it's happening. She can see herself spiraling. She can observe it almost from the outside, and still she cannot stop it. People around her think she has it together. They see someone composed, someone reliable, someone who always seems to know what to say and how to show up for others. What they don't see is how long it took her to get dressed that morning, because she spent 40 minutes in her head, replaying a conversation from 2 days ago, worrying about a tone in an email, wondering if she'd said the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong time. What they don't see is the energy it costs just to walk out the door, the internal negotiation that happens before every social event, the relief that floods in when something gets canceled, not because she doesn't care about people, but because the mental preparation, the anticipation, the post-event analysis, all of it adds up to something no one else can see. Sound familiar? If it does, stay with me, because what I'm about to share isn't just about overthinking, it's about why you're built this way, what it says about you, and why the very thing that exhausts you is also one of your greatest hidden strengths. Your brain is so good at thinking that it doesn't know when to stop. And I want you to understand something important here. This is not a character flaw. This is not weakness. This is not you being dramatic or sensitive or too much. Think of your mind like a search engine. Most people type in a question, get an answer, and close the browser. Your brain types in the question, gets an answer, and then asks 15 follow-up questions, cross-references every result, opens 47 new tabs, reads through half of them, gets distracted by a related thought, opens 12 more tabs, and then somehow ends up in a completely different place than where it started. None of the tabs ever fully close. That's not a malfunction. That's just how your system was built. The prefrontal cortex stays running even when there's nothing left to solve. This is the part of the brain responsible for planning, analysis, and self-reflection. In most people, this region quiets down when the day is done. It powers down with the lights. But in overthinkers, it keeps going. It stays switched on during meals, during conversations, during rest. It analyzes what just happened and prepares for what might happen next, and questions whether the last thing that happened could have gone differently. The default mode network keeps generating your inner monologue. Your mind is always online, always auditing, always drafting responses to conversations that haven't happened yet. This is your internal narrator, the voice that runs in the background even when you're trying to be present, even when you're trying to sleep, even when you're sitting in a room full of people and part of you is somewhere else entirely, replaying something, preparing something, processing something. Every time your brain runs through a scenario, it releases a small hit of dopamine, not because you solved the problem, just because you were working on it. Your brain is literally rewarding you for the act of thinking itself, for the simulation, for the imagined conversation, for the mental rehearsal of a situation that may never happen. This is the trap. The thinking feels like progress. It feels productive. It feels like you're doing something useful, but you're not moving forward. You're just moving. This is why just stop thinking about it is one of the most useless pieces of advice a person can receive. You're not choosing to overthink. Your brain has a chemical incentive to keep going. It's not a bad habit. It's a biological loop. And understanding that loop is the first step towards loosening its grip. For most overthinkers, this pattern started long before adulthood, long before the stress of work or relationships or adult responsibilities. It started somewhere much earlier, somewhere much quieter, in a house you grew up in rooms you don't always let yourself think about. Maybe a parent's moods changed without warning. The atmosphere of a morning could shift from fine to tense before breakfast was finished, and you never quite knew why. You just learned to watch for it, to read the signs before they became storms. Maybe mistakes were met with outsized reactions. Maybe the cost of getting something wrong felt too high, too unpredictable, too heavy for someone so young to carry. So you learned to check your work before it was done, to rehearse before you spoke, to think 3 steps ahead so you wouldn't be caught off guard. Maybe love felt conditional, not stated that way, never spoken aloud, but felt, in the way attention came and went, in the way approval had to be earned and could always be lost, in the quiet message that being enough required constant effort. The young brain learns something very quickly in environments like these. If I can just figure out what's coming, maybe I can protect myself, maybe I can prepare, maybe I can avoid the thing I'm afraid of if I just think about it hard enough and long enough and carefully enough. And so the brain starts scanning constantly. It learns to read faces before conversations begin. It learns to hear tone beneath words. It learns to notice the slight pause, the half smile, the change in someone's breathing. It learns to model out scenarios before they happen so that nothing catches it completely off guard. This is not anxiety. This is not weakness. This is a child doing the smartest thing they could possibly do in the environment they were given. This is intelligence in the service of survival. Overthinking isn't a flaw, it's an adaptation, a very smart nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do. The tragedy is simply this, that most overthinkers carry that strategy into a world that is no longer dangerous. The habit remains long after the threat is gone. The system keeps running the old code in a new situation that it doesn't require it anymore. Psychologists identified two distinct types of this pattern. The first is reflective rumination, which turns inward to understand and process emotions, to make sense of experiences, to learn from what has happened. When it is balanced, this is genuinely one of your strengths. It is the engine behind your self-awareness, behind your emotional intelligence, behind the depth that other people sense in you even when they can't name it. The second is brooding rumination. This is the darker twin. It dwells without resolution. It circles the same drain over and over, asking why without ever arriving at an answer. It revisits the same wound, not to heal it, but simply because it cannot look away. Most overthinkers live in both. They oscillate, and the shift from one to the other can happen so gradually, so invisibly, that you don't notice you've crossed the line until you're already deep inside a spiral, wondering how you got there. A single moment of genuine reflection can slide almost invisibly